You know, it's like a never-ending game of am I in focus without my contacts, so fingers crossed. I'm gonna keep it brutally honest. I am not a professional. I say this every time, but I really am not a professional. I just have DIY'd enough things to kind of develop my electrical skills, so I was able to install 2 different switches by Leviton, a dimmer and a regular one. We are in one of my favorite rooms in the house. It is our mud room, which is also our sneaker room displayed on skateboards. With this being the focal point of our home, I've gathered some smart home products from Home Depot. Thank you so much, Home Depot, for sponsoring today's video that are going to make this room a lot smarter and a lot cooler. They're essentially installed the same way, but because the people in my house before MacGyvered literally everything that they were not supposed to MacGyver, I ran into some electrical issues, which I'm gonna walk you through. Thank you so much. Whoa, clapping's not a thing you do with a mic. We are just gonna get right into it. I'm gonna walk you through my ups and downs of the journey. There are a few little quirks if you weren't following me on my Instagram and seeing it in my smart home stories of how frustrated I was with this process. But that doesn't mean I didn't fall in love with the product at the end of the day. It's just, it was a new thing for me to learn and it took me a while, but I finally got it and I'm so pumped to be able to introduce it to you guys and share with you how to install and switch over to smart switches. Is that too much? I feel like that's too much. As I mentioned before, I will be installing 2 of the Leviton Decora smart switches. One is a dimmer, one is regular. Dimmer is about 50 bucks and the regular switch is about 40. It's so worth it and there's no hub required. Right off the bat, the thing that sold me is that you can control these guys from anywhere while using the Leviton app, which you download after you install. Another thing that's insanely awesome and I do not have is an Alexa and a Nest. Those mesh up together and you can control it from both of those things, setting schedules, speaking to Alexa, telling her to turn on and off the lights. Right now I am unboxing just the regular switch, not the dimmer, but both of them are unboxed exactly the same. They come with an almond color option switch and then the manuals with all the information. You will see when you take out the switch there is a silver screw, red and green. The silver is going to be your neutral line, your red is going to be your load, and the green is going to be the ground or the copper wire. When you flip it around, you'll see the black screw, which is going to be your hot wire, and I know this all sounds so foreign, but there is also a place for a multi-switch, like a 3-way, which is covered by a sticker. I will walk you through all of this. The manual looks super intimidating, but I promise you when you just kind of hone in on the images, it's going to show you examples of different wiring you can have in your box. And if your wiring is not there, I did call the Leviton customer service number and they let you know what wires you're missing and what you need to buy to add to it to make this switch work for you. This is the dimmer switch, like I mentioned before. It is literally unboxed exactly the same, minus the fact that this is a dimmer. For both of these switches, an almond color cover comes with, but I will not be using them. The faceplate I already am obsessed with because you cannot see the screws and they're very modern and sleek in my opinion. It's like a 2-part faceplate. One part you screw into the wall, the other one you snap on top of. And the really rad thing about this is even if you're not replacing your actual light switches, you can go ahead and buy these covers for like $2 for your whole house. I already did that with my downstairs on switches I didn't use the Leviton smart switches on. I used the exact same tools for both light switches, which was my Ryobi power drill, some flathead screwdrivers, winged wire connectors, a Klein non-contact voltage tester, scissors, the color wire that matched my neutral wire in my electrical box, which is white, electrical tape, wire strippers, and that's about it. I like to gather all my items and set them near the light switch, of which I am switching out, and you have to go to your breaker and turn it off. The only bummer about being a one-woman show in my house is you need to run back and forth since no one else is home to see if the power is going out, since my labels were not properly labeled. And because they were not properly labeled, I drew out another diagram once I finally found the switch that was for the light I was going to work on, and I made a whole new one to make sure that this never happened again, because it was very annoying. We're going to start with installing the dimmer. Once you find the breaker, you want to just double check that the light is actually out before you remove your faceplate and kind of pull out that switch. It is very dangerous. If you are not comfortable with this, please get someone that is or hire a professional. I'm going to remove the faceplate first and kind of shimmy out the old switch. I'm going to go in with my Klein tool voltage tester, make sure the wires have no power, and you will know because that light will stay green. If they have power, it will switch to red and make a very loud beeping noise. Example number 1, my house is very wonky with the previous owners. This light switch has the ground wire attached not to the ground screw, but to the top of the actual faceplate. I had to take a photo to make sure that if I didn't wire this next one the right way, I could rewire my old one to make sure my lights consistently worked. My neutral wire didn't have to connect to my old light switch, but I did need it for the Leviton switch. So I pulled everything out of the box, took the wire caps out, separated them, and turned the breaker back on because I didn't have like a red or yellow wire for my load wire. To discover which one was my load and my hot wire, I turned the breaker back on with my wire separated. Whichever wire turned that no contact tool red is going to be the hot wire. So I tested all the other wires before determining that this in fact really was the hot wire and the other one was going to be the load wire. Wrap a little piece of electrical tape around that to label it so you know when you go and turn the breaker back off which wire is going to go where. And I know this sounds super intense, it's really not. Turn that breaker off again and test it with your voltage tester to ensure it is absolutely off before installing your light switch. You want to loosen up that black screw and shimmy the hot wire underneath that plate and then tighten it to make sure it doesn't move. Repeat that same thing with your load wire, which for me is another black wire, which we just tested, but yours could be red. Some of mine are red in my house. It's just all random. For those of you who have households like mine, those white wires are put together for a reason. You do not want to split those apart. You actually want to add a piece of wire into it. Like you want to split off of those two neutral wires, not separate those guys. You need to just add an additional wire to it and then feed that underneath the screw. Last but not least, you want to ensure that you have a ground wire. It will be green or copper, and you want to just go ahead and attach that to the green screw. Screw that light switch back into its little home and switch on the breaker. There should be a green flashing light right underneath the switch that will let you know that the power is running to it. Download the My Leviton app and then open it up and create an account. You want to go ahead and click the little plus button and add a device. This is going to be the Decora Smart Switch. It's going to let you know some different things to prepare, but then basically you'll just hit continue until you see, hey, connect this to your Wi-Fi. A little Wi-Fi will pop up per the switch that you're installing. Go ahead and click that and it will connect itself in the app, prompting you the next step. You then want to choose the network or the Wi-Fi, which corresponds with your home, obviously, because that's what you're going to be using to control the app. This configuring and setting up portion actually took about 3 minutes until it prompted name your device. I didn't think it was going to work, and then it did. So if it seems like it's taking a while, stay patient because it ends up popping up. So I just labeled this our shoe room because obviously that's what it is, but you just go ahead and customize it to whatever room it is going to be in. I just noticed that my wall needs a little bit of touch-up paint, but ignore that. Now your switch is working. You can control it from the wall itself. You can also control it from the actual app by turning it on and off. But what I love most is that if you are away or you are upstairs and your boyfriend's trying to convince you to go back downstairs to turn off the light, you can check it from your app and handle it right there. When I took my regular switch out to swap it out, I realized that there were legitimately only 2 wires connected to this switch, which is, ooh, like what is going on with my electrical? So I had to pull out the white wire, which is the neutral, and my copper. The copper was not attached to this one. I don't even know how it was working, to be honest. I don't understand electrical. I just repeated the same exact process I walked you through in lengthy detail. When that bad boy was all installed, lo and behold, after I connected it to the app, I realized, excuse me, Wi-Fi is not working on my other ones. That's the whole point of this smart switch. So I went in and had to figure out how to troubleshoot it myself. To be completely honest, the app doesn't walk you through any of it. I figured with my other home products, you also had to just kind of hold the switch up until it resets itself. So I just was like, hey, I'm gonna give that a go. And it ended up switching the light to yellow. That puts it in reset mode, and you just do the same app process that I showed you with the dimmer from the get-go and kind of reinstall that switch, which will reconfigure it to the wireless. These switches are much better than my old ones. I even replaced the ones upstairs in my bathroom with all smart switches just to have a little bit of fun with Paul.
Don't forget to turn off the lights, baby. What the? Did the light bulbs blow out? That was weird. Oh, call seriously. Turn off the lights.
What's going? Alright, what happened? What little gadget or gizmo you got? Alright, enough.
Thank you once again to Home Depot for sponsoring today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little home improvement Tim Taylor-esque video. I know that it's not the norm, but I love showing you guys what I'm utilizing in my home. I will catch you Wednesday for another DIY.